let's just step back for a moment, and if you could maybe just give us a real rudimentary education, like a sex ed 101, Steve, for those of us who didn't go to your school of sensuality and take all your online courses and in-person demonstrations. I mean, guys, they have in-person demonstrations of live orgasms with women and stuff, and he demonstrates technique, and it's really trippy. I mean, it's certainly not your evening news. But
have you seen our video?
I sure did. I sure did. Yeah, and wow, it's inspirational. Let me just say, inspirational is the word. But can you give us perhaps just a little, from your 30 years and counting, almost 40 years of experience, like a little sex ed 101, like what, if you could encapsulate those almost 40 years of dealing with adults that have basically no knowledge of their anatomy, how their body works, how it could work, could you just encapsulate for us, okay, this is really where you need to start. This is what you need to know to start learning who you are, and what you're capable of.
Okay. Well, first of all, or second of all, if I was going to teach somebody, I think a good place to start would be having them learn how to self-pleasure. And to do that, they have to create like the space and the time for it, even if they're with a partner. And then there's specific techniques that we do now. It's a lot of people say, well, I really don't like doing it, or but a lot of women, they haven't really had a whole lot of success doing it. They'll do it with a vibrator, and to learn your body, explore your body, become really curious about well, there's a whole bunch of exercises that we give in our books, but like, setting up your space so it looks nicer, have something for each one of your sensual, your touch and taste and smell, and then have a full-length mirror and look at your body and look at yourself with the eyes, positive eyes, instead of like, usually when we look in the mirror, we look for things that are wrong, like our hair is out of place, we have a pimple here, or this is wrong, or, but look for things you like about yourself. And the more you start doing that, the more you'll start liking yourself. No matter what you look like, you have to get in agreement the way you are first, and then you'll start looking better, and you start falling in love with yourself. You'll become like, your sex appeal grows with it. All right, and then touch yourself all over, and your light touches and back of your nails and different kinds of. Be curious, create all kinds of different ways to touch yourself, and touch yourself all over. How you like to be touched. Some places like to be touched firmly, and some places like to be touched lightly. Some people like to be tickled. Some places you like, and there's we read about it, so it's all in the books really. And then masturbate for pleasurable effect, which means you're not really trying to get anywhere. You're just touching yourself for the pleasure of touching yourself. And do it for as long as it's fun, and take lots of breaks. And explore your body. And the more you do that, the more you practice that, the more you will feel. And the last exercise is called connections, where you can connect different parts of your body to your genitals. Women can to the clitoris, and men to the penis. And they can like touch their lip or their nipple or their inner thigh or their vaginal opening, if you're a woman. And you rub both areas at the same time, like you're rubbing let's say your clitoris and your nipple at the same time. Then you you have it feeling really good, and then you take your finger off your nipple, just keep rubbing on your clitoris. Keep the finger right hovering over the nipple, and see if there's any sensation there, any echo feeling. And then put your fingers back and rub them both together again. And then take your finger off your clitoris and just rub your nipple. And keep your finger close to your clitoris and see if there's any echo there, just from rubbing your nipple. And you may not feel very much at first. It may just feel a little tiny thing, and that's good. Whatever you feel is good. And if you don't feel it, just keep playing at it. It's and do it as long as it's fun. You have to. Rome isn't built in a day. You're not going to turn on your whole body right away. And enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. And the more practice you do, and then you can. Once you have this turned on body, you can bring it to your partner and teach them. And most people think of sex as intercourse, or people getting off at the same time. And that's really difficult to have a simultaneous orgasm. However, we don't want to stop doing anything you're doing already. But we're not here to take anything away. We want to add on the specific techniques that we do, which is one person is the giver and one person is the receiver. So I'm I'm the giver to the woman, and I'm putting all my attention on her body and on her. Once she agrees, she has to agree first. And there's ways to seduce somebody, but I won't get into that right now. But once you have their agreement, then you put your attention on them, and then you touch for your own pleasure. So your hands are like sex organs. So when you're self-pleasuring, learn how to feel more with your hands. And it's all that we really are experts in manual stimulation. I'm not an expert in intercourse or oral sex. I would go to somebody else for those lessons. But you can really get the best orgasms with your fingers because they're the most precise. We say would you want a brain surgeon going into your brain with her tongue, with his penis, or with his hands? And I think hands would be the option. And the same thing with the genitals. It's a great way to give and to feel the pleasure, because you can really have a lot of control there. So the specific techniques, how to control somebody's orgasm and how to peak them, which means you're stroking them as long as it feels good. As long as they're going higher, you keep stroking. But as soon as you notice or have the thought even that maybe that stroke, they didn't go up anymore, you have to take a break or change the stroke, and that brings them down deliberately, and then you can start again. So you want to take control of the orgasm like that. So.
Wow.
Then also, you have to learn how to communicate. I mean, sex is actually is a subset of communication. So before you start, find out what they like, find out, how they like to be touched, where they like to be touched, what's their favorite spots, what part of the body they like to be touched, where their erotic zones are. And then when you're doing it to somebody, then you can ask them questions that they can answer with a yes or a no. So you want to make it simple for them. So they can just lie there. They're just lying there and feeling the pleasure. And so you say, would you like it lighter? Would you like it? And they say, yes, then you go lighter, a little bit lighter. You don't want to change too much, but it's usually good to start with a light stroke anyhow, especially on a woman. And then go a little bit lighter. And then you can say, would you like it lighter? So you keep asking the same question until you get it to the exact lightness they like. And you can say, would you like it more to the left? If they say yes, then you go a little bit to the left, and you keep going in increments, small increments, until you get to the exact spot. All they do is say yes and no, and you don't want to ask questions, where they have to hedge their bet. So if you ask them a question like, "Does this feel good?" That's not a very good question, because they say, no, then everybody's going to lose about that. If they say they have to lie and say, yes, that feels good, then they're going to go down also. So just ask them like simple questions like, we like it higher, harder, would like it lighter, would you like it faster, would you like it slower? Questions like that. And the person receiving the pleasure, in order to train their partners how to touch them, the best way to do it is to give lots of positive feedback. So let them know that they feel good, their touch is really nice. If you want it lighter, so that's really, you always start with like something positive, and then you can give a request. Would you please do it a little lighter? And then they do a little bit lighter, still not light enough, but you got to reward them for going in the right direction. And you say, that's better, that's really good. And then you go back to step one again. Wow, this is really fun, you really listen well. Would you rub it like about twice as light as that, So you get it exactly the way you want it. And once you train somebody, they'll know how to touch you. So you won't have to keep doing that every time. It may take more than one session again, but by communicating, and if you're both communicating together, he can or she can be asking, would you like it lighter? And the person can say, even lighter than that, that's really good. That's, so you can like get in sync with each other. A lot of people find it, and it's good to have the lights on so you can see what you're doing also.